code officer, to put it right out there in the face. Supervisor gets $20 a month, lawyer gets $5 a week. It's okay. But I really want you to think about, and that is the value of having an opposition. I think you all Republicans should show the town residents that you are looking at it fairly and appoint the next highest vote getter for that position. And I think that would be good for the town. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm sorry to take your time. And
To speak briefly tonight, Mr. Patnell did a great job, and officially offer my name for consideration. I know there is a process in which to do this, and I will confirm this by submitting my letter of intent of resume to the town clerk's office. As you know, I've been active in the community and in town government for a number of years now. You all know me personally. You know that I have a commitment to open and transparent government, promoting sound fiscal practices, encouraging smart growth for our town. In fact, we share many of the same goals at this point. However, what is troubling is the idea that I could be disqualified from appointment simply based on my party affiliation. One very prominent Halfmoon Republican supporter recently suggested as much on the record when he was asked about appointing me on the town board. He said, quote, "That would be like putting a fox in the henhouse." 62% of Halfmoon voters are not registered Republicans, and I will remind you that I received more votes in November, more than 2,200, than any other candidate that will sit before you. We all know that Halfmoon's reputation has sustained a few black eyes here recently, and unfortunately, people outside of our town are starting to notice. Recently, the Times-Union wrote in an editorial that quote, and I quote, "It's hard to tell whether board members were genuinely disturbed by the allegations of corruption and cronyism or acting on political instinct. It's really up to the town board members to answer that, not with protestations of integrity or pronouncements about good government, but by their actions. You have the opportunity now to, as the Times-Union put it, restore the faith of the citizens. I please urge you to take that opportunity. Thank you."
I want to speak to urge the board and to express my support for Mrs. Stephenson for the soon-to-be vacant board position. I'm following up somewhat on Mr. Patnell's comments, and unlike Mr. Patnell, I am not a registered Republican, nor am I a registered Democrat. Frankly, I've come to believe that reasonable minds can differ, and it's a good thing to have debate and to have accountability. I would, like Mr. Patnell, point out that in 2011, Ms. Stephenson ran for the town commissioner or supervisor seat and won by a sliver, or excuse me, lost by a sliver. She likewise lost the recent election for the town board position by a hair. I would think the democratic and fair thing to do here, given that roughly 50% of the community has supported her, would be to seriously consider her for the vacant board position. Not only would it be fair, but it would be democratic. There's not going to be a special election. The board can appoint. I would think that, again, the fair and democratic thing would be to appoint Ms. Stephenson. I would also point out that, and I use the term that Ms. Stephenson used, this board has suffered some black eyes and there has been some negative publicity lately. I would think as a matter of pure optics, which by the way is a term I hate, this board would want to do the fair and democratic thing. So on that, I would urge that Ms. Stephenson be appointed to the vacant board position.
I am one that supports Deanna Stephenson. I have more of a country, rural, hometown kind of values that I grew up with. I understand people cannot people have to learn to accept change, but I'm about as down hometown girl, country girl you're going to meet. And when it comes to me thinking about voting for a Democrat, something at one time I thought I would never do. Is it because I'm getting older, and is it because I'm becoming less naive? But when I see a person, whether it be Republican or Democrat, trying to maintain Halfmoon as a rural community, that person's getting my vote. And I hope you can consider Deanna Stephenson for consideration. Thank you.
always naively assumed that the people we elected to run our towns would truly work to do what's in the best interest of all of the people who live in their towns, and not just those who voted for them. Unfortunately, I've learned all too well during the last year that that doesn't always happen, and even in a small town, or maybe especially in a small town, I'm not sure, lines can get blurred. People are human and they make mistakes. Poor judgment is not only possible, but is probable in certain situations where everybody knows each other and have for decades and even generations. I am also neither Republican nor Democrat. I vote for the people who I feel best represent me, and honestly, before coming to these meetings, I never really thought much about political affiliation at all. And now I find myself thinking about it all too frequently and questioning how so many highly intelligent people can see only political affiliation. Mr. Donaldson, when you stood before the people of this room and gave a brief speech when you were sworn in as town supervisor, you asked us to look forward and not back, to understand that there's a lot of work here to do. You said you were looking forward to turning a page and writing the next chapter of Halfmoon, and you asked us, your constituents, not to be critical, but to be understanding. And I heard you. What I'm asking you to do when looking to fill this vacancy, and I understand from what you said tonight, it's not just you, it's the whole board, so I'm asking the whole board, is to think of all of us, to see beyond party lines and look for a candidate who has proven their dedication to the betterment of this town time and again over the past 2.5 years by being active at meetings. We don't need additional political ties in Halfmoon. We need balanced board where we, the residents, can be certain that you're watching out for each other and can work together to maintain the lifestyle that the residents of Halfmoon are clearly and loudly asking for. I'm asking you to make this your first major act as supervisor to be in the best interest of all the residents of the town, not just the Republicans. It's time to break down the party lines and open up communication lines. And because of that, as you've heard many people say tonight, I also ask for you to seriously consider appointing Deanna Stephenson for the town council seat. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nikki Dubow. I live at Crescent Road, and my entire life I've always grown up Republican, and Deanna Stephenson has made me change my mind, and I highly recommend you appoint her to the vacancy.
Could I say their first name again? I apologize.
Nikki.
Nikki, thank you.
Sorry.
36 up Town Road. I want to thank the town board for rapidly fixing the mistake that was made with the canal and putting the stones back in place. I do appreciate that and appreciate you guys listening. My second point is that I'm also speaking for my mother back there because she doesn't feel like walking all the way up here with her cane. That we both support the appointment for Deanna Stephenson and some balance on this board. Thank you.
I was going to actually read it for the last town meeting, but it ended pretty quick. So I just figured I'd go through the letter to the editor, admit it in, which basically was congratulating the winners and the challengers, that they did a good job of challenging. And I vote for who I feel best takes the job. And there will be a process going through. And the board members are the ones that are going to be voting, not us. So at this point in time is when people here are speaking up, because we know some people on the board might not have an open mind. And we want them to at least have an open mind. And so I too support you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a new supervisor that will lead the process in a fair way. So I urge you not to be closed-minded, but to be open your minds up to other people as well. Thank you.
Delegate Connecticut, Dunsback Road, lifelong resident. I just want to say my husband, who is Republican, Frank, who couldn't be here tonight, and myself, who I've been independent, stand behind Deanna for the appointment. I think if you appointed her, it could go a long way towards regaining some trust that has been lost in the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
appointing Deanna Stephenson.
I'm Mary Ann Gilletta. I live at 128 Dunsback Road, and I wasn't going to say anything, but, you know, I hear the comment about don't be closed-minded, you know, because all these people are supporting Deanna. I'm a lifelong resident, a lifelong Republican, and a lot of people are here to support her because they believe in her and all the work she's done. And, you know, I'm concerned about the traffic and the overbuilding, and this woman has done so much and has really caught my attention, has caught a lot of other people's attention. She's a very hard worker, and, you know, I support her also. And then just people saying, you know, don't be closed-minded and don't look at Deanna. I think she's really proved herself, and that just bothered me a little bit, and I think that is the problem. I think people shouldn't be closed-minded. I think we all should look at everything and look at other people. It doesn't matter what your, you know, political affiliation is. And now that I'm getting a little older and I'm paying attention to this more, it's really starting to bother me. Because like I said, I have lived here my whole life. I have been a Republican my whole life. There are certain things I believe in, but what Deanna comes out and does, I believe in that. I'm very against all the traffic and all the overcrowding, and I've lived here forever, and I want to live here forever. I want my son to live here. I want my family to live here, and it just isn't the same anymore. And I understand there's change and there's building, but we just need that little extra. We need balance. Yes, we need that little bit extra, and just the view of it and how our town has been looking lately. And this woman works hard, and she's a great person. She really is.